How's it going, everyone? My name's Deepcut, your YouTube, this is Cartoon Universe, and today we are going to talk about the last episode that aired, which is And Now We're Only Falling Apart. There's a lot of information, a lot of flashbacks, and we learned a lot about not just our Rose Quartz, but potentially all the other Rose Quartz that may or may not exist. Let's dive into this. One really popular theory is that there is an alpha kindergarten, a kindergarten that grew Rose Quartz soldiers before the amethysts were even made. However, in this episode, Pearl announces that the first Quartz soldiers are about to emerge in reference to the prime kindergarten where all of the amethyst soldiers are made. This should mean that Rose Quartz did not come until much later. However, one thing to note is that she did say Quartz soldiers, not just Quartz gems. While Rose Quartz may be seen as a soldier, they were created, theoretically, to work at the zoo, so they might not be soldiers per se. Considering Pink Diamond's enthusiasm over the situation, though, I would imagine that this is the first kindergarten to start having gems emerge. This, of course, begs the question, why would Pink Diamond take the form of a gem that doesn't even exist yet? However, when she does go to the kindergarten, she's only referred to as a quartz, not a rose quartz. So it's very possible that everyone assumed that she would just be an off color. And because she's, of course, Pink Diamond and not Purple Diamond, this was the best form that she could take. This seems to make sense because inside of the Amethyst Kindergarten, as well as in the zoo back in Season 4, the Amethysts vary a lot in their shades of color and purple. On top of that, in the episode Beta, Peridot takes Amethyst and Steve into the Beta Kindergarten, where we find out it didn't just grow Jaspers, but carnelians. So it would seem that off colors, or at least different kinds of gems grown in the same kindergarten, is very possible. Additionally, when we go to the zoo, we see that carnelian is not only an off color, but extremely short, meaning that he was allowed to keep working even though he didn't fall into society's perfect idea of what he should look like. It would seem that as long as you can do your functions, unlike Patty, the pink sapphire, who can't actually see the future, you are still allowed to work in the Gem Empire even if you are slightly off color or misshapen. Because of that, we can assume that Pink Diamond disguising herself as a Rose Quartz isn't something that the Amethyst would necessarily recognize or react to. It was just something that happens in kindergarten some of the time. One really interesting thing about this flashback is that when Pink Diamond became Rose Quartz, she already had human-colored skin the first time she formed. This seems to contradict yet another popular theory that she later reformed with human-colored skin in order to appeal to human men. Another really interesting thing about that transformation and her color is that no other gem seems to be able to change their color. They can change their outfits' colors, and usually they do that to show which diamond they work for, but in this case, she just changed herself to human skin color. Amethyst wasn't even able to change herself to Jasper's color when she was trying to impersonate him. Is this something only the diamonds can do, or is it something that the Crewniverse just didn't quite think about when designing these characters and the show? My favorite part of this episode was that we got to learn a little bit more about Pearl and Pink Diamond's relationship. Seems in the beginning that Pearl wasn't in love with Pink Diamond. She definitely wanted to please her, but didn't seem to have any romantic feelings back then. However, after Pink Diamond took the form of Rose Quartz, that's when Pearl started to develop romantic interests in her. In my opinion, when Pearl projected the idea of Pink Diamond taking the form of a Quartz soldier, she did so with the idea that she found beautiful. She projected something that she would find attractive, whether on purpose or just subconsciously. And when Pink Diamond took that form, that is when Pearl started to feel the very physical attraction to her. It's very interesting because it almost makes their relationship seem shallow. I'm sure Pearl had real feelings for Rose, but a lot of it seemed to be based around the way she looked. This would also explain why she was attracted to the biker girl who looked a lot like Rose and not like Pink Diamond. Pearl's backstory also takes a weird, sharp turn in this episode that I'm not quite comfortable with. Despite some of the amazing stuff they did with her relationship with Rose, there are some very weird moments. After the attack on Blue Diamond, which would mean that this rebellion has been underway for some time, we see that she is now called a terrifying renegade Pearl, yet she is still in a subservient homeworld gem mindset. When she tries to fuse with Rose, she immediately shames herself and tells herself that she should be replaced. It really seems out of character for the Pearl that we know, who, even though we know isn't actually independent, still likes to feign that. Yet here in this moment, in the rebellion, she still sees herself as just a Pearl. One thing I'm really loving about this, though, is the further deconstruction of Rose and her background. It's very common in stories like these, even like Harry Potter, to have a character like Dumbledore, who seems all-powerful, all-knowing, guiding everyone in the right direction. But in the end, the character starts to unravel. You realize they're just a person, and oftentimes more flawed than the main characters themselves. At the time of the attack on Blue Diamond, it seems that Pink Diamond still doesn't want to live on Earth, she just wants to save it. It's not until Pearl confesses her feelings, or rather her fantasy, that Rose starts to change her mind. Pearl imagines that she comes to Earth running away from Homeworld and finds a Rose Quartz. She doesn't belong to her, but she makes her happy. And Rose latches onto that. She wants to stay on Earth now so she and Pearl can act out this, essentially, role-playing relationship that they have. It's beautiful for the context of the story, but really sad for the characters. This is just a fantasy Pearl had that Rose was pretending, and it also makes it even more tragic knowing that Rose was constantly leaving Pearl behind for human men. This is further cemented when they stumble upon Garnet, who cannot return home. Finally, Pink Diamond has a reason to not just fight for the Earth, but to stay on it. Pearl to have her fantasy life, and Garnet to have a safe place to exist. It really makes sense why these two were the ones she saved from the corruption. At the end of the day, saving Earth wasn't just about saving the Earth, it was about saving these two people and giving them a home to live in. The big question now we have to ask is, what about all the Rose Quartzes that we're seeing at the zoo? They're all in bubbles now, but there seem to be hundreds of them. There were so many. So the question is, why? And really, how? We know the zoo didn't come along until well after the Amethyst Kindergarten, so it's assumed the Rose Quartzes weren't made until then. After all, it does seem that they were made specifically for that, or at least it is implied that way, but we do not have an actual answer. Do they look like Pink Diamond as a Rose Quartz, or did she program them to look like her? Are gems pre-programmed like that? We have heard Peridot talking about the way gems are designed to do something. Do diamonds sit around on their computers designing these gems before they're injected into the Earth? It's hard to know, and it's hard to know if we'll even get answers on this because some things might just be left blank or not thought about. The question is, why was there no concern about this first Rose Quartz and then more were made later? It also calls into question what these Rose Quartz did with their powers. Our Rose Quartz had the power to control plants and make them sentient to protect people. She also had the power to heal. These are powers that would come in handy while working at the zoo, so it was safe to assume that this is just how a Rose Quartz works. But we now know that that is specifically Pink Diamond's powers. So it leads to the question, did the other Rose Quartzes have similar powers? Were they programmed to be modeled after Pink Diamond in that way? And if not, what are their powers and why were they made for the zoo specifically? Why were they made for the zoo after the only known Rose Quartz was already rebelling against Homeworld? And finally, the most important question I can think of here is, why are Pink Diamond's powers so closely tied to the Earth? As far as we know, she wasn't made there, but all of her powers are about plant life and healing. What does this have to do with Pink Diamond? Why does she have these powers? And will we actually get answers from this? Or is it just something written into the show that will never be explained? That's all I got for today, guys. It was a good episode, a little fast-paced for my taste, but it's coming along nicely. A lot of answers, but even more questions. Tell me your theories down in the comments below. I read them all, I promise.